of course, destructible rocks at the bottom of the next level down. It is a multi-step level, and then, of course, the fourth is off to the left-hand side, or rather, the third is off to the left. Very much exposed. Lots of ways to get in. And there's going to be a quick pause here by Sasquatch, actually. In the interim, let's talk about Sasquatch's map position, what he's currently doing up in the top right. He has taken his natural very quickly. And it looks like, yep, he's ready to go. I'm not sure what the problem is, but it's something they resolved quite quickly.
Yeah, so Sasquatch has gone for hatch first. This is pretty much a safe bet for Sasquatch. It's not the end of the world. It's not like a really greedy play by him. It is greedy. It is intended to get him an economic boost. But because this is a 4-player map, it's not unreasonably greedy. He knows that his opponent has a likelihood of scouting his position at the very least second, if not third, because of there being 3 possible positions for him to scout in. And so getting that hatch first off and then going for a pool immediately after is relatively safe, because if it scouts you second and reactively cannon register you, then it's no big deal because you'll have the time to get the leads out. But Shew has gone gateway expand, so cannon rush doesn't matter. So this is actually really great for Sasquatch. This is exactly what he wants.
Yep, absolutely. And this Overlord is just popped in, took a quick peek, but unfortunately Shew did not know it's still sitting there until he leaves right now, and then he will see that the Overlord is there. He knows where each other is, but like you say, on a 4-player map or a 4 spawn location map, just such as this, where it can be used in 1v1, you don't know where the other opponent is, so you're not going to get any kind of cheese or anything like this, and it's very safe for the most part to take a hatch first build and then go into your pool, and that's exactly what we're seeing when a couple of Zerglings popping out. They're going to intercept this probe and start working away on it, and once it gets onto Crete, it will die very quickly, but Shew will notice that the hatch is done and drones are already there, so he knows that went down first. And then at the same time, we do take a look down at his base. He's taken a Nexus, his mothership core is out. That will provide the level of defense that he requires in order to stop any kind of shenanigans from occurring, and probes are going to start transitioning on down, and it looks like a very similar build, two workers on each gas by Shew, grabbing the cybernetics core, gateway, that should be a forge. Oh, I think a forge would go down fairly soon. That's another gate going down. There is the forge I was talking about. That makes this look like a forge fast expand after the fact, but it's not. And as you can see, mothership core is going to peck away at these Zerglings and get a couple of good kills, and the sentry is going to take care of the other one.
Yeah, and Shew is walling off at his natural. He's getting a forge. He's getting a gateway down at his natural. So it doesn't look like he's going to do any 4-gate pressure, which is really common after a gateway expand. And Sasquatch is actually going for 2 5-minute gases and 4 queens. This is a really common build from Wings of Liberty that was popularized in TVZ in particular. Stefano was a big proponent of this build. He would do 2 gas at 5 minutes and alternate between roach timings with Ling Bane and 1-1 upgrades into third base and macro games. And so it was a really nice platform to build off of, and it works very nicely against these gateway expand styles that have come back into popularity on the ladder and in tournaments like this against Protoss players. And one of my favorite things about it is that it gives you so much early creep, and Protosses are just not used to dealing with creep. There's so much creep by the 10-minute mark with 2 queens that are just dedicated to creep. It really helps against any all-in pushes, and the end game, like if nobody pushes against you, that creep isn't a waste of time anyway. It gives you so much vision that you're able to react a lot more effectively to a lot of situations.
Yeah, an interesting situation is Shew switching it up from last game instead of going with the 2 basing warp prism push like he did the last game, which is basically an all-in. He is actually going with Stargate, and he's pumping out a couple of Phoenix here, and I think we're going to see some Phoenix harass in the very near future. It's a good decision, I think, especially on this map. There is a lot of little spots where you can fly over and under, and so I think this is a good choice by him. He's going to exploit the map conditions of this map. As you can see, ground units have a long way to run around in order to be able to get to these groups, so he'll have a lot of opportunities to be able to come in and do a variety of different harass with those Phoenix.
Yeah, and he's pulling them up. He's keeping them probably until there's anywhere from 3 to 5, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go at 3. And then he's going to go over and scout his opponent and do any economic damage that he can and kill some overlords while he's at it. But Sasquatch knows that this is kind of a common timing for Stargate plays, and he doesn't know what his opponent is up to, so he's putting a Spore Crawler in his natural and his main, and I really like that. That's just a safe way to play it. But Sasquatch, again, this is all precautionary. Sasquatch isn't 100% aware of what his opponent was doing until just now when he showed those Phoenixes.
Yep, that Overlord, despite the fact that it did die, ultimately gives him the pile of information. Zerglings out front are going to get pecked away by the Mothership Core. Shew's feeling pretty safe right now. Those Phoenix are going to get a good couple of kills. Every Overlord dead is 100 minerals, and they do crank out very, very quickly. It's as much as Carbot's animations cartoon is, it is teleport successful. They come out so fast, 3 of them now in the skies. I think there is actually a 4th one on the way. It is about to pop in just a moment. And so that will be 4 Phoenix being able to do a lot of good scouting. They're not crazy. Well, now that there's 4 of them, they can do a good bit of work. They can pick up drones very quickly and start being able to one-shot them out of the sky. But at the same token, this is designed, I think, more pressure. Keep Sasquatch somewhat defensive, but then at the same time, get a lot of good scouting information.
Yeah, definitely. And right now, Shew is being a little bit cute. He's picking up guys who's still in range of that Spore Crawler by Sasquatch at the 3rd base, but just rotating the Phoenixes out. That's really cool. But speaking of cool, Sasquatch is going for a 10-minute hive. And Shew is adding on a robotics bay, and this could be an all-in. This could be a 2-base Colossus all-in, and if you're teching too hard, this might just straight up kill you.
That may kill you. You need to have some forces to be able to take care of this. I think that's maybe one of the reasons that he chose to go with Phoenix is because in the event that Corruptors or Mutalisks show up, you'll have something to be able to help shield those Colossus. Certainly, even with units like Hydralisks or whatever, he can pick them up with the Phoenix to help protect help protect the Colossus or any other unit for that matter that gets fairly close. Obviously, Vipers are not going to do so well against Phoenix in the later game, but I mean, like you say, it looks like we've got some Infestors coming out right now. That Hive Tech is just about to finish. Like, once that Hive is up, it's going to be go time. Oh my dear, that is a lot of Queens protecting that 3rd. Meanwhile, there's a bit of a scrap going down just outside of Shew's base. A good number of Zealots as well. Actually, a lot of Zealots, almost exclusively some Sentries in the mix as well. And they're going to actually push back all the Zergling force. This is just a quick boast to try and shut down this Nexus. It's not going to work. Shew, I think, has this game quite comfortably in his position. It's not anybody's game. Taking a look at the economy tab, 60 to 51, fairly standard at this point in time. And then if we do take a look at the supply tab, this is where the difference is. Shew has a 58 supply over 37, so it's about 20 supply lead over his opponent. Workers is 66 to 55 as it sits right this moment. So Shew, very, very commanding position. He has got lots of scouting position information, despite the fact that Sasquatch has so much damn creep all over this map.
Yeah. So those Lings were able to force a cancel on the Nexus and just rebuild real quick. So he didn't delay it for super long, but it was a nice benefit for Sasquatch to help him get a little bit comfortable, get his Infestors out. His Ultralisk Cavern is finishing up right now. He'll be able to pump out 3 Ultralisks or so, and there he goes. And this push from Shew is not at all intended to do very much damage. It's just to clear up some creep. He knows he probably should not engage into Infestor Link Queen. That won't go very well because the Zerg's upgrades are actually just incredibly ahead of his Protoss opponents. There's a lot of upgrades there for Sasquatch. So Sasquatch is taking a 4th base, and it's kind of far away from everything. Because of the way this map is structured, he has to take it way far away. But, oh my goodness, a huge fungal on those Phoenixes. Those Queens are going to kill them with the chain fungal. That's great news for Sasquatch.
Yep, absolutely. That's going to eliminate a lot of the scouting information. A lot of these Overlords are no longer going to get packed off. And that's going to really make him feel very, very good. Like you were saying about the upgrades, so many of them, Ultralisks, are now coming out onto the field, as we can see with that Wonderfus. That is an amazing skin that they have. Just it looks like they're on fire. And looks so good. And then we do see that the Queen supporting them. They'll be able to transfuse the brains out of those things and keep them alive for a very, very long time. If we take a look at them really quickly, 2-2 upgrades. Once they get the chitinous plating, which is almost about to finish, that is about 20-30 seconds out. Once that's finished up, along with the Vipers that are currently in production, this force is going to be very, very scary.
Yeah. And this is actually one of the big reasons that creep spread is so important for a Zerg player doing this build, is that you want to have Queens in your fight eventually. And so if you have creep at his base, it's way easier to attack, way easier to retreat in the middle of a fight, because your Queens cannot move at the speed of molasses. And right now they can only go about halfway across the map. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some Queens throw down a few more creep tumors to accelerate the creep spread over to Shew's bases. But right now, Sasquatch is going to be feeling very fat and happy with what he's got. He's got some Vipers on the way, or actually Vipers are out. He's getting his Spire so that he has a transition after this. And he's got Mutaling, or excuse me, he's going to have Ultralisk, Zergling, and Fester Queen, which is one of the most efficient armies a Zerg player can have. It's going to look so good if his opponent ever walks out of his base. But Shew knows what kind of army his opponent has. He's set himself up on 3 base, he's walled in, and he doesn't really feel like moving out right now.
No, and he doesn't need to. I guess that's the big thing. He's on 3 base. He's got plenty of income. He's cranking out good counters against those Ultralisks, such as the Void Rays. He's bringing in a couple of Warp Prisms, so then that way he can do some drops and such like that. We have a Scouting Phoenix just on the outside, taking a look to see if there's any ninjas or any other units that they can go and kill very, very quickly. I don't know if he's actually seen this particular expansion just quite yet. I would say not. I'm just going to take a quick peek. Hang on a moment. This expansion up in the top left-hand corner, yes, it has been viewed by Shew. He does know it's there. But like you said, he doesn't want to really leave his base because he's safe there. The second he ventures out, he now has to contend with Sasquatch and that ever-advancing creep spread. And oh my goodness, that's an awful lot of spores and spine crawlers being put down. That's a very smart maneuver. Putting them down here, so then that way he can actually push them forward, and he can actually use those almost as a siege line to help prohibit any kind of advancement by Shew into this army of his.
Yeah, I really like that move. Normally we're seeing, I mean, as a whole, we're seeing Zergs go way more and more static defense heavy, but that's something that we usually see paired with Swarm host play and really boring Stefano play. But this is smart. He had the resources. You might as well turn those resources into part of your army, even if they're not technically part of your supply, and just rebuild the drones that you used to make that little wall up. It'll help against run-bys as well.
No, absolutely. And Sasquatch needs to take this game. If he loses this match, he is out of this tournament. However, if he wins it, he has one more game for which to prove himself superior to Shew in many more ways than just, well, I guess you could say just in StarCraft. No, I stand corrected. Shew is going to do a quick drop with that 1 for Warp Prism. He's going to warp in a pile of Zealots. They're going to work away up on this left-hand base. I think this is, what, his 4th or his 5th, but meanwhile, at the same token, there's a good number of units just down here. It looks like they're a little bit staggered here as Sasquatch is trying to determine how he's going to deal with that. He does have a pile of Zerglings heading on up to help take care of it. In fact, he's actually doing the right thing, is grabbing those drones, turning them into structures so that they don't die so quickly to those Zealots. And that Warp Prism is actually just going to pick up 4 of those Zealots and fly on out. One of these Zealots didn't get picked up. He's lonely, he's not feeling good, and he's actually going to be left behind.
Yeah, that Zealot is going to be upset about that. Why did you leave me? Help! But Sasquatch going for 2 Spires is going to have double upgrades. At the same time, Shew is adding on 2 additional Stargates and a fleet beacon. Shew is making his transition into the endgame. There is a little bit of a harass from these Void Rays, but they're going to get cleaned up very easily. That's kind of wasteful by Shew. I would not have liked to see that. Shew needs to be a little more careful with his resources. He does have a bank, but he's on 3 bases, and really that's just not enough if you want to deal with this Zerg army very efficiently. But there's the push out from Shew.
Yeah, absolutely. He's pushed out of his base. He's out in the open space, and I think he wants to engage. I don't know if this is the best engagement point that he should want to get into, but he has to deal with something at this point. These Broodlords will work away onto this natural base as long as they will be let to. So at this particular point in time, Shew does have to do something to try and counter this. And as it sits right now, Sasquatch is very, very content sitting behind these spore crawlers, these spine crawlers, and feeling like he can wage siege here as much as humanly possible. There was a bit of a drop of some Zealots up into the main of Sasquatch, and I'm just going to take a quick look to see. It's about a couple of more workers killed, but nothing too crazy. I don't know if it was worth the expense of how many Zealots that were brought on up there, as well as the loss of the Warp Prism. Decent time warps, but everything runs right on outside of them. And again, Sasquatch not really wanting to. It's almost interesting because Shew doesn't really want to engage unless it's on his terms. Sasquatch certainly does not want to engage unless it's on his terms. And he's going to take this natural and maybe even get up on into a very much undefended main.
Yeah, and if he can get into the production of Shew, that would be huge. And it looks like here's going to be the engagement. Shew does not want to fight. He's storming. He's trying to zone his opponent. But there's so much stuff from Sasquatch. Sasquatch feels very comfortable. He's going to back off. There was a big drop in the natural of Sasquatch that got cleaned up by some good circling usage, but it did do some economic damage there. The natural has been 100% cleaned up by Sasquatch, but a 4th base is on the way to the left of that river in the middle of the map. Shew is looking like he's backed into a corner. There's a massive bank for Sasquatch, and if I were Sasquatch, I would go for an army trade, not even try and kill production, just go for an army trade, and then swap into Mutalisks, because that's my favorite thing to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that we see, since he has 2 Spires and he could potentially be working on double upgrades.
Yep, absolutely. And that 4th base you were mentioning that is just finished up is under siege by a handful of Zerglings, as well as Zerglings up and in the main as well, also basically just wreaking havoc. The engagement is on. Storm's going down. Void Ray's getting shut down. Archon's trying to cook literally anything that gets within their grasp. Brood Lords raining down the pain on anything that's close, and then Tempest shooting in from the long distance. And that's it. Big GG by Shew, and Sasquatch is going to tie up this series 1-1, and we're just going to continue on. We're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nightshade.
I'm Jodes. We're going to take a 90-second commercial break, and we're going to go right into game number 3. We'll see you soon.